Hello, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into a concept that might just challenge everything you've ever thought about intelligence, success, and social strategy. Imagine this: the key to becoming more successful, respected, and influential isn't about showing off your intelligence or constantly proving your worth. In fact, it's quite the opposite. What if I told you that playing dumb? Yes, you heard that right, could be one of the smartest strategies you could ever adopt? Now, before you jump to conclusions, let me be clear. When I say playing dumb, I'm not talking about pretending to be ignorant or lacking the intellect you actually possess. No, I'm referring to a powerful, strategic tactic that's been used by some of the greatest minds in history. We're talking about the wisdom of knowing when to stay silent, when to listen, and when to let others believe they've figured everything out on their own, while you quietly observe and position yourself for success. This concept, rooted in the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, will change the way you approach your personal and professional life. Schopenhauer, a 19th century German philosopher, understood the dangers of intellectual pride and how often the brightest minds can alienate themselves by flaunting their knowledge. But what if instead of battling to prove you're the smartest in the room, you let others shine, quietly absorbing information and strategically showing your brilliance at just the right moment? Imagine having the ability to walk into any situation, whether it's a business meeting, a social gathering, or even a debate, and hold all the cards without ever having to reveal your hand. It sounds almost like a superpower, doesn't it? But what if this approach is more achievable and practical than we think? Throughout this video, we're going to break down Schopenhauer's philosophy on playing dumb and explore real-life examples, from legendary leaders to modern-day business moguls, who have used this exact strategy to secure their place at the top. We'll also dive into the deeper psychological reasons behind why playing dumb works so well, and how it can help you build stronger relationships, gain respect, and even achieve more than you ever thought possible. So if you're ready to challenge conventional wisdom and discover a new approach to success, stick around. This video is going to change the way you think about intelligence, humility, and strategy forever. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most influential philosophers of the 19th century, is widely recognized for his deep exploration of human nature and the inherent suffering that defines our existence. In his most famous work, The World as Will and Representation, Schopenhauer develops a pessimistic view of life that is rooted in the idea that the will, the driving force of all existence, is the source of both our desires and our suffering. However, his insights on human behavior and social dynamics go far beyond metaphysical abstractions, touching on how individuals navigate the world around them. One of the most compelling aspects of Schopenhauer's thought is his philosophy on playing dumb, a strategy he proposed for achieving success and gaining respect. This idea may seem counterintuitive at first, especially for a society that celebrates intellectual brilliance and the pursuit of knowledge. But as Schopenhauer explains, there is much to gain from acting less intelligent than one truly is, particularly in a world where intellectual pride and arrogance often lead to resentment and isolation. The genesis of this idea can be traced back to Schopenhauer's own life. At the age of 19, his mother, Johanna Schopenhauer, wrote him a letter criticizing his intellectual arrogance. She pointed out that his exceptional cleverness, while admirable, was ultimately useless to the world, as it led him to look down on others. Her letter struck at the heart of his character, illustrating the tension between Schopenhauer's inner intellectual drive and the societal pressures to conform to norms of humility and respect. This early critique would shape much of Schopenhauer's later philosophical work, including his reflections on the dangers of excessive intellectual pride. In many ways, Schopenhauer's philosophy on intellectual humility can be understood as an attempt to resolve this tension. How can one navigate the world as an intellectually gifted individual without alienating those around them? Schopenhauer believed that intellectual superiority could elevate an individual above the masses, granting them a kind of inner transcendence. However, he also recognized that such superiority often bred envy and resentment. In his view, the key to avoiding these negative consequences was not to flaunt one's intelligence, but rather to adopt a more modest and even humble stance. This idea of playing dumb, presenting oneself as less capable than one truly is, can be seen as a social strategy to protect oneself from the bitterness that often arises from being perceived as intellectually superior. It is a strategy not of deceit, but of self-preservation and, ironically, of greater intellectual engagement. By presenting oneself as dumb, one can observe others, learn more about their motives and ideas, and only reveal one's true abilities when the time is right. The importance of this approach lies not just in its utility for avoiding social conflict, but also in its deeper implications for how we perceive and interact with the world. Schopenhauer's view was that intellectual superiority could become a double-edged sword, elevating one above others, but also creating a sense of alienation and isolation. In a society where intelligence is often seen as the ultimate measure of value, those who possess it can find themselves burdened by expectations and resentment. Schopenhauer's philosophy offers an antidote to this by encouraging individuals to embrace intellectual humility, to downplay their brilliance when necessary, and to allow others to shine in their own way. This, in turn, fosters an environment of mutual respect and understanding, where people are not constantly competing to prove their worth through intellectual superiority. One of the core ideas of Schopenhauer's philosophy is the concept of the art of surprise. In his view, one should not openly display all of one's strength or intelligence, but instead appear slightly weaker or less capable. This way, when the critical moment arrives, one can reveal their full potential, surprising others with their abilities and achieving success. The concept of surprise, Schopenhauer argues, is not just a tactic for personal gain but a strategy for maintaining balance and avoiding the social pitfalls that often come with displaying one's true talents too openly. This is an idea that echoes throughout history, particularly in the context of military strategy. Sun Tzu, the ancient Chinese military strategist, famously wrote that all warfare is based on deception. The idea is simple: to gain the upper hand, one must appear weaker than they actually are, creating an opening to strike decisively when the time is right. This tactic has been employed by countless figures in history, from military leaders to corporate executives, who understand the power of managing their image and holding back their full capabilities until the moment demands action. Take, for example, the case of Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. Jobs was known for his remarkable ability to control the flow of information about Apple products. He rarely revealed details about upcoming product launches and was notoriously secretive about the company's plans. This sense of mystery and surprise not only built anticipation for Apple's new products, but also created a perception of Jobs as a visionary leader, someone who possessed a unique insight into technology and design. By playing dumb and withholding information, Jobs ensured that when the product was finally revealed, it had the power to shock and impress, generating immense public interest and loyalty. In this way, Jobs exemplified Schopenhauer's concept of the art of surprise. His brilliance was not constantly on display, but rather carefully reserved for moments when it would have the most impact. The strategy of playing dumb also extends beyond the realm of business and into our everyday interactions. In social and professional settings, we often encounter individuals who are eager to showcase their knowledge and expertise, sometimes at the expense of others. These people may talk incessantly, believing that their words will establish them as the most knowledgeable or powerful person in the room. However, as Schopenhauer and others have pointed out, such individuals often fail to gain genuine respect. Instead, they may be seen as self-important or even insecure, constantly needing to assert their superiority. The key to winning respect, according to Schopenhauer, lies in knowing when to speak and, more importantly, when to listen. This idea resonates with the advice of Mahatma Gandhi, who famously said, "Speak only if it improves upon the silence." The wisdom in this statement is profound. By speaking only when we have something meaningful to say, we avoid the trap of empty chatter and allow our words to carry more weight. It is in silence that we can observe the world around us, gather information, and assess the situation. When we speak, we do so with the confidence that our words are informed by careful observation and deep thought. This is where Schopenhauer's philosophy becomes particularly insightful. Wisdom lies not in the constant display of knowledge, but in the ability to hold back, to listen, and to choose our words carefully. In practical terms, this means that sometimes the most intelligent person in the room is not the one who dominates the conversation, but the one who listens most intently. When we take the time to listen, we can learn more about others, their needs, and their motivations. This information, in turn, can be used to our advantage when the time comes to speak. It is through listening that we can offer the most valuable insights, not just because we have something to say, but because we have paid attention to everything that has been said before us. The individual who listens, who allows others to express their thoughts, often ends up having the most significant impact when they finally do speak. This philosophy is not limited to the intellectual realm. In fact, it extends to our relationships with others, especially in hierarchical settings such as the workplace. Most of us have encountered bosses or colleagues who are quick to offer their opinions, whether or not they are actually informed. These individuals often believe that their authority or expertise grants them the right to dominate conversations. But as Schopenhauer suggests, this kind of behavior can alienate others and lead to resentment. A more effective strategy is to listen carefully, offer support when necessary, and only speak up when you have something of value to contribute. This approach not only helps to avoid unnecessary conflict, but also allows you to gain a deeper understanding of the dynamics at play, whether in the workplace or in personal relationships. In many ways, Schopenhauer's strategy of playing dumb can be seen as a form of intellectual self-defense. By downplaying one's intelligence and abilities, a person can avoid becoming a target for envy or resentment. This is especially important in a world where success is often measured by external markers such as status, wealth, and power. In Schopenhauer's view, true success comes not from outward displays of intelligence, but from the ability to navigate the complex web of human relationships with grace and humility. One key to Schopenhauer's philosophy is the idea that we should never take ourselves too seriously. In his eyes, intellectual pride is a source of great suffering, both for the individual and for those around them. Instead of striving to prove one's superiority, Schopenhauer encourages us to embrace humility and recognize the inherent limitations of our knowledge. By doing so, we create space for others to shine, and in turn, we are more likely to gain their respect and admiration. In conclusion, Schopenhauer's philosophy on playing dumb offers a powerful counterpoint to the conventional wisdom that intelligence and success go hand in hand. By embracing humility, listening more than speaking, and withholding our full abilities until the right moment, we can navigate the social and professional world with greater success. Schopenhauer's ideas challenge us to reconsider the value of intellectual superiority and to embrace the power of subtlety, silence, and strategic self-restraint. In a world that often rewards loud, brash displays of intelligence, Schopenhauer's philosophy reminds us that true wisdom lies not in the constant assertion of our abilities, but in the quiet, deliberate cultivation of humility and understanding. Arthur Schopenhauer's concept of playing dumb is one of his most provocative ideas, particularly in a world that constantly emphasizes the value of intellectual prowess. On the surface, the idea might seem counterproductive. After all, in a society that celebrates knowledge and intelligence, why would anyone want to downplay their abilities? However, Schopenhauer's insight is not about ignorance or deception. Rather, it's about strategic humility and the careful management of one's social and intellectual presence. He argues that by deliberately appearing less intelligent than one actually is, a person can gain respect, avoid envy, and create opportunities that might otherwise be inaccessible. This concept, which might seem unconventional at first glance, becomes far more compelling when examined through the lens of history, modern power dynamics, and the social behavior of influential figures. Schopenhauer's philosophy on playing dumb is grounded in a broader understanding of human nature. He was acutely aware of the psychological dynamics that govern social interactions, particularly how people perceive and react to those around them. He recognized that intellectual superiority, when flaunted openly, often leads to resentment, jealousy, and social alienation. On the other hand, those who know when to hold back, listen carefully, and allow others to feel superior are more likely to be respected and admired. The key here is not to feign ignorance, but to be judicious in revealing one's true capabilities. It's about understanding the power dynamics at play in any given situation and choosing when and how to assert one's intelligence in a way that maximizes influence and fosters positive relationships. This strategy of strategic humility is, at its core, about mastering the social game. Schopenhauer recognized that life is a complex interplay of power, influence, and perception. In many situations, showing all of one's cards at once can be detrimental. Instead, by withholding certain aspects of one's knowledge or abilities, a person can maintain an element of surprise and keep others from feeling threatened. This creates an environment where the individual can operate with more freedom, less scrutiny, and greater potential for success. The idea of playing dumb is not a new concept. It's been employed by influential figures throughout history, from politicians and diplomats to business leaders and military strategists. The strategy is simple: let others underestimate you, and when the time is right, reveal your full potential in a way that catches them off guard. This not only creates a sense of awe, but also establishes a position of strength, as others are often more willing to listen to and follow someone who appears humble or self-effacing. Let's consider some historical examples where the strategy of playing dumb has been effectively used. One of the most famous examples is that of Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister during World War II. Churchill was known for his brilliance, his sharp wit, and his extraordinary ability to communicate. However, he was also a master at appearing unassuming and downplaying his own intelligence when necessary. For much of his career, Churchill often found himself at odds with the political establishment, and he knew that in order to achieve his goals, he had to navigate the complex dynamics of British politics with a certain level of humility. He didn't flaunt his genius. Instead, he often allowed others to take the spotlight while quietly maneuvering in the background to shape events. Churchill's ability to play dumb during his early political career allowed him to avoid the resentment that often accompanies intellectual brilliance. He understood that in a hierarchical system, it was essential to let others feel as though they were in control, even when he knew more than they did. By doing so, he created space for himself to work his influence behind the scenes, ultimately emerging as one of the most respected and powerful leaders of the 20th century. His leadership during World War II, his skill in public speaking, and his tactical genius were all results of his ability to manage the perceptions of others, using strategic humility as a tool to gain trust and respect. In the realm of business, the strategy of playing dumb can also be seen in the career of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Jobs was known for his visionary ideas and his ability to anticipate the future of technology. Yet, he was also a master of restraint, often withholding key information and playing his cards close to his chest. By not revealing too much about his ideas or the company's future plans, Jobs created an aura of mystery and anticipation around Apple's products. This sense of intrigue was not just a marketing tactic, but a reflection of Jobs' deeper understanding of the power of strategic humility. He allowed competitors and industry insiders to underestimate Apple's potential, only to reveal groundbreaking innovations that would revolutionize the technology industry. Jobs' approach was also evident in his management style. He was known for being highly selective in his interactions with others, often appearing aloof or distant. This created an environment where employees and colleagues were motivated to work harder, not just for the sake of the company, but to prove their worth to him. Jobs understood that by not always showing his full hand, he could maintain control over the narrative and shape the direction of the company. His ability to play dumb, at least in terms of revealing his true vision, allowed Apple to thrive, outpace its competitors, and become one of the most successful and influential companies in the world. Similarly, in the world of politics, many leaders have used the strategy of playing dumb to great effect. One notable example is former U.S. President Ronald Reagan. Reagan, often referred to as the Great Communicator, had a reputation for being a skilled orator and a charismatic leader. However, he was also known for appearing somewhat simplistic in his public statements and interactions. While Reagan was far from dumb, he often employed a folksy, down-to-earth persona that made him appear more relatable to the American people. This strategy of downplaying his intellect allowed Reagan to connect with voters on a personal level, creating the impression that he was just an average guy who understood their concerns. This, in turn, helped him build a strong political base and maintain widespread support throughout his presidency. The key to Reagan's success was his ability to balance the appearance of humility with his true intellectual capabilities. While he might have appeared to play dumb in public, he was an astute strategist who understood the importance of managing public perception. By doing so, he was able to gain the trust of the American people and navigate the complex political landscape with skill and confidence. The concept of playing dumb is not about hiding one's true abilities, but about understanding the social dynamics at play and knowing when to withhold certain aspects of oneself. This is particularly important in situations where power dynamics are at play, whether in the workplace, in political arenas, or in social interactions. It is often more effective to let others feel as though they are in control, even if one knows more or is more capable. This strategy creates an environment where one can operate with more freedom and influence, without provoking envy or resentment. Take, for example, a diplomat in a high-stakes negotiation. A skilled diplomat may know far more about the issues at hand than the other parties involved. However, rather than flaunting this knowledge, they might choose to hold back and let others believe they are in a more powerful position. By doing so, they create the space for negotiations to unfold in a way that ultimately benefits them, as they can use their knowledge strategically at the right moment to turn the tables in their favor. The art of playing dumb is not about deception, but about understanding the subtleties of human nature and using them to one's advantage. In the corporate world, executives often use the same principles to build influence and advance their careers. In meetings, for example, a leader might allow others to take the lead and present their ideas first, even if they already know the solutions to the challenges being discussed. By listening attentively, asking insightful questions, and allowing others to feel as though they are contributing, the leader builds rapport and trust. When the time comes, they can offer their own ideas, which are often more refined and comprehensive. In this way, the leader has used the strategy of playing dumb to create an environment where their ideas are more likely to be accepted and respected. Ultimately, Schopenhauer's insights on playing dumb are about understanding the power of humility in a world that often values intellectual superiority, rather than flaunting one's intelligence or seeking to dominate every conversation. Schopenhauer advocates for a more strategic approach to social interactions. By knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to step forward and when to step back, individuals can navigate the complexities of human relationships with greater success and avoid the pitfalls of intellectual pride and social alienation. The strategy of playing dumb is not about deception or self-denial. Instead, it's about playing the long game, about recognizing that in many situations, humility is the key to gaining respect, building influence, and achieving success. By adopting this approach, individuals can avoid the resentment and envy that often accompany intellectual brilliance and instead foster an environment of mutual respect and understanding. In this way, Schopenhauer's philosophy provides a valuable blueprint for navigating the complex dynamics of social and professional life, one where strategic humility and the careful management of perceptions can lead to lasting success and personal fulfillment. Schopenhauer's philosophy is deeply intertwined with the dynamics of power, perception, and influence. One of the most intriguing aspects of his thought revolves around the concept of playing dumb, which, when explored in depth, reveals much about human nature and the art of social navigation. At its core, Schopenhauer's approach is not about deception or pretending to be less intelligent, but about understanding the subtleties of power and knowing how to manage one's strength for maximum impact. The idea of surprise, a crucial component of this strategy, is key to unlocking its potential, as it draws upon the principle that sometimes holding back one's true capabilities and revealing them only at the right moment can be far more effective than flaunting them at all times. The concept of surprise is as old as warfare itself, with one of the most famous articulations coming from the ancient Chinese strategist Sun Tzu, who wrote in his treatise The Art of War that all warfare is based on deception. The essence of his message is that in order to succeed, one must mislead the opponent into underestimating one's abilities, thus setting the stage for a dramatic and often decisive reveal. This strategy, while grounded in military tactics, extends far beyond the battlefield and into all areas of life, including business, politics, and personal relationships. Sun Tzu's principle of deception is not about tricking others for the sake of cruelty or malice, but about creating the conditions in which one can act decisively, with full force, and catch the adversary off guard. It is about waiting for the right moment to strike, and in doing so, gaining a tactical advantage that would not have been possible had one's full strength been revealed prematurely. Schopenhauer echoed similar sentiments when he discussed the value of appearing weaker than one truly is, only to reveal one's strength when the time is right. This principle of surprise is a profound social strategy, and it explains why those who have mastered it can move through life with a sense of control and influence that others struggle to attain. One of the clearest examples of the art of surprise in the modern world is the career of Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple. Jobs was not only a visionary, but also a master of the subtle art of surprise. For most of his career, he was known for keeping details about his products under tight wraps, creating an aura of mystery around Apple's future innovations. His public appearances were often marked by simple, minimalist presentations that concealed the groundbreaking technology and ideas he was about to reveal. Jobs understood the power of anticipation, and he knew that by holding back information, he could create a level of excitement and intrigue that would make the eventual unveiling all the more powerful. Take, for example, the launch of the original iPhone in 2007. Jobs' keynote address, widely regarded as one of the most iconic moments in business history, was remarkable not just for the device itself, but for the way in which he introduced it. For months before the event, there had been rumors about Apple's plans to enter the mobile phone market, but no one knew for certain what the company had in store. Jobs played his cards close to his chest, keeping details about the product secret until the very moment he revealed it. When he finally unveiled the iPhone, it was nothing short of revolutionary, so much so that it changed the course of technology and set the standard for smartphones worldwide. The surprise wasn't just in the product's design or functionality, but in how Jobs had managed to keep it under wraps for so long, allowing the world to be genuinely shocked by the reveal. This strategy of withholding information, of playing dumb in a sense, was integral to Jobs' success. He understood that if he had revealed the iPhone's details prematurely, the excitement surrounding the launch would have been diluted, and the impact of the announcement would have been less profound. By playing the part of the humble, unassuming businessman who didn't give too much away, Jobs set the stage for a moment of dramatic revelation that made the world stop and take notice. This technique, which Schopenhauer would likely applaud, is a powerful tool in both business and life. It's not about being dishonest or misleading in a malicious way. Rather, it's about creating a space where one's full potential can be revealed at the most opportune moment, leaving others in awe of what has been accomplished. The art of surprise extends beyond the realm of business and into the world of politics and diplomacy. In fact, one of the most famous practitioners of this strategy was Mahatma Gandhi, the leader of the Indian independence movement. Gandhi's approach to leadership was grounded in a deep understanding of power dynamics, and he used the principle of surprise to his advantage throughout his career. While many political leaders of his time sought to flaunt their strength, Gandhi's genius lay in his ability to downplay his own abilities and then reveal his full potential when it mattered most. Gandhi's most famous act of surprise came during the Salt March of 1930. At the time, the British Empire had a monopoly on salt production in India, and the Indian people were heavily taxed for a basic necessity. Gandhi, using the principle of surprise, led a march over 240 miles to the Arabian Sea to produce salt from the sea, defying British law. At first glance, the Salt March might have appeared to be a simple protest or an act of defiance, but it was actually a carefully calculated act of strategic surprise. Gandhi knew that the British authorities would never expect such a large-scale act of civil disobedience, and by leading the march himself, he demonstrated the power of nonviolent resistance in a way that had never been seen before. the surprise of the Salt March, and its massive success, played a significant role in galvanizing the Indian independence movement and earning Gandhi the respect of both the Indian population and the international community. In the world of diplomacy, too, the art of surprise is often employed by leaders who understand the delicate balance of power. For example, in the Cold War, U.S. President Richard Nixon's decision to open diplomatic relations with China in 1972 was a brilliant use of strategic surprise. At the time, China was largely isolated from the rest of the world, and its relationship with the U.S. was deeply antagonistic. However, Nixon recognized that by engaging with China in an unexpected way, he could shift the global balance of power and gain an advantage in the ongoing Cold War with the Soviet Union. His surprise trip to China, which included meetings with Chairman Mao Zedong, stunned the world and reshaped the geopolitical landscape. By playing the role of the humble leader, willing to engage in dialogue with the enemy, Nixon was able to achieve a diplomatic breakthrough that many had thought impossible. The strategy of surprise is not limited to grand political moves or corporate reveals. It also manifests in everyday situations where one's intelligence, influence, or power can be masked in order to gain an advantage. In the workplace, for example, many successful leaders use this tactic to create a sense of mystery and control. A manager who holds back their opinions in meetings, letting others speak first, may appear less intelligent or capable at first. However, when the manager finally speaks, they can offer a well-considered solution that demonstrates their superior understanding of the situation. This not only earns them respect, but also positions them as someone who is capable of surprising others with their insights, all without ever flaunting their intelligence or asserting dominance prematurely. In relationships, the principle of surprise can also play a role in how we manage our personal dynamics. A person who always tries to impress others with their knowledge or accomplishments may end up alienating people, while someone who listens carefully and holds back their opinions until the right moment can gain a great deal of respect. By strategically withholding one's thoughts or actions, a person can create space for others to feel valued, while still maintaining the ability to step forward when needed. In the final analysis, the art of surprise, as championed by Schopenhauer, is about timing, humility, and strategic self-awareness. It's not about hiding one's abilities or pretending to be something one is not, but about understanding when and how to reveal one's strengths in ways that will have the greatest impact. By holding back, listening, and allowing others to take the lead at times, individuals can position themselves for success, gain respect, and avoid the pitfalls of intellectual arrogance. This subtle yet powerful strategy is one of the keys to navigating the complex terrain of social interactions, business dynamics, and even personal relationships, offering a path to success that is often more effective than the overt display of one's capabilities. In the fast-paced, often noisy world we live in, the value of silence and listening is often underappreciated. Yet, as Arthur Schopenhauer and many great thinkers throughout history have emphasized, the ability to listen and the wisdom that comes with it may be one of the most powerful tools for navigating human relationships, work environments, and personal growth. Wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. This famous quote from Socrates succinctly captures the essence of what Schopenhauer would later elaborate on: the importance of silence as a form of intellectual strength. Listening is not merely the absence of speaking. It is an active process that involves attention, reflection, and often a profound understanding of what is being communicated beyond the surface level. Schopenhauer was a keen observer of human nature, and his reflections on listening are deeply rooted in his broader philosophical views on human will, knowledge, and suffering. For Schopenhauer, the act of listening was not only about acquiring information, it was about seeing beyond the distractions, the ego-driven need to dominate conversations, and the desire to assert one's opinions at every moment. Instead, true wisdom came from the ability to remain silent, listen carefully, and then speak when one had something valuable to contribute. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, was perhaps the most famous proponent of this philosophy of silence and listening. He practiced a method of inquiry known as the Socratic method, which involved asking probing questions and listening attentively to the answers, rather than providing direct answers. Socrates would often guide his interlocutors to discover truths for themselves. The key to this method was his ability to listen not only to what was said, but also to what was left unsaid. By listening, Socrates was able to uncover contradictions in his opponent's thinking and reveal deeper insights about the nature of truth, virtue, and knowledge. In the realm of contemporary life, the wisdom of listening is just as relevant. Take, for example, some of the most successful leaders of our time, such as Warren Buffett, the legendary investor. Buffett is known for his low-profile, quiet demeanor, especially in contrast to the more extroverted personalities that often dominate the business world. Yet, despite his reserved nature, Buffett's listening skills have contributed immensely to his success. He has often said that one of the most important skills in business is the ability to listen carefully and take in the opinions of others before making a decision. Buffett's ability to stay silent and absorb information from diverse sources has allowed him to make some of the most successful investment decisions of all time. In fact, Buffett's reputation as a listener has earned him the respect of those around him, with many citing his quiet, thoughtful approach as one of the key reasons for his long-term success. Another contemporary example of the power of listening can be found in the leadership style of Barack Obama. The former U.S. president was often praised for his ability to listen to both sides of an argument, a trait that helped him navigate the complexities of American politics. Obama was known for taking time to hear out opposing viewpoints before offering his own opinions. His willingness to listen, even when faced with criticism or opposition, made him a more effective leader and helped him build coalitions, even across ideological lines. His ability to stay calm, composed, and patient in the face of heated political debates was, in part, due to his deep understanding of the power of listening as a tool for gathering insights and fostering dialogue. But the importance of listening is not confined to the realm of politics or business. It plays a crucial role in personal relationships as well. In my own life, I've found that when I take the time to truly listen to people, whether in work meetings, academic debates, or even in casual conversations, I gain a deeper understanding of their perspectives, their needs, and their motivations. This has often allowed me to respond more thoughtfully and effectively, whether that means offering a solution to a problem or simply offering emotional support. In work meetings, for example, when I resist the urge to immediately jump in with my own ideas or responses, I'm often able to pick up on details that others may overlook, small hints about what my colleagues truly think or need, or subtle nuances in the discussion that can lead to more creative solutions. Listening carefully also allows for a deeper understanding of situations. During academic debates, I've realized that the loudest voices in the room are not always the ones that carry the most weight. Often, those who dominate conversations with their assertive opinions miss important details or fail to see the bigger picture. By remaining silent and listening attentively, I've been able to absorb more information, ask more pointed questions, and engage in more meaningful discussions. In fact, some of the most insightful contributions to debates or conversations come from those who speak the least but listen the most. This dynamic can be seen in various contexts. In workplaces where collaboration is key, the best ideas often come from the quietest participants, those who listen to what others have to say before weighing in. Similarly, in academic settings, the most profound insights often come from those who have spent more time listening to others than speaking themselves. These quiet observers, who might be perceived as passive or disengaged at first, often understand the complexities of a situation in a way that others do not. They are able to see connections, contradictions, and opportunities that others might overlook. And when they do speak, their words carry more weight because they are grounded in careful observation and reflection. Schopenhauer's emphasis on the importance of listening also ties into his broader views on the nature of human suffering and the role of the will. For Schopenhauer, the human will is often the source of suffering, as people are driven by desires, ambitions, and egos that cause them to act impulsively and recklessly. Listening, on the other hand, represents a form of detachment from the will, a momentary pause in the endless cycle of wanting, doing, and striving. By listening, one steps back from the chaotic flow of thoughts and desires and gains a moment of clarity and understanding. It's a practice of mindfulness, a form of mental stillness that allows one to process information without the interference of personal biases or preconceived notions. Listening also helps to foster empathy. When we listen to others, we are more likely to understand their emotional states and motivations. This is especially important in personal relationships, where communication is key to maintaining harmony and mutual respect. By truly listening to someone, we show them that we value their thoughts and feelings, which in turn strengthens our connection with them. This kind of active listening is far more valuable than simply offering advice or speaking in a way that dominates the conversation. It's a subtle but powerful way of demonstrating respect and understanding, and it's something that Schopenhauer recognized as essential to navigating the complexities of human interactions. In many ways, listening is a form of intellectual strength. It requires discipline and restraint to hold back one's own opinions and give others the space to speak. It's a practice that allows for deeper understanding, stronger connections, and more effective communication. Schopenhauer's philosophy, with its emphasis on the power of silence and listening, offers a timeless lesson for those seeking to cultivate wisdom in their lives. In a world that often values speed, assertiveness, and constant noise, the ability to listen carefully and thoughtfully is a rare and invaluable skill. Whether in business, politics, or personal relationships, listening can provide the foundation for success and fulfillment in ways that speaking or shouting often cannot. By adopting the wisdom of listening, by embracing silence as a powerful tool of understanding, we can navigate the world with greater awareness, empathy, and insight. It is through listening, not speaking, that we often gain the most profound knowledge, the most valuable insights, and the strongest connections with others. This is the kind of intellectual strength that Schopenhauer championed, and it is something that continues to resonate in today's world, where silence and listening are as powerful as any spoken word. The concept of Socratic irony, a cornerstone of the philosophical strategy employed by Socrates, aligns closely with Schopenhauer's ideas about the power of feigned ignorance and the subtle art of navigating human relationships. Socrates famously claimed that I know nothing, a statement that has puzzled many over the centuries. This claim of ignorance was not a declaration of humility or self-deprecation, but rather a deliberate rhetorical strategy designed to engage others in deeper reflection and expose the contradictions in their beliefs. Through his method of questioning, Socrates would lead others to realize the limitations of their own knowledge, ultimately guiding them toward a more profound understanding of the world. Socratic irony operates on a simple but powerful principle. By pretending to be ignorant or unaware of something, a person can uncover truths that are often hidden beneath surface-level arguments. Rather than asserting his own knowledge or challenging others directly, Socrates asked questions that forced his interlocutors to confront the gaps in their reasoning. Through this technique, he would expose flaws, assumptions, and contradictions, pushing people to think more deeply and critically about their beliefs. It wasn't about making the other person look foolish. It was about allowing them to discover for themselves the limits of their own knowledge. Socrates' method was transformative in that it shifted the focus from the teacher providing answers to the students engaging in a process of self-discovery. By asking the right questions, Socrates encouraged individuals to reflect on their own assumptions and reasoning. For instance, in his famous dialogues, such as The Apology and Euthyphro, Socrates would ask simple, seemingly naive questions that led his conversation partners into complex philosophical discussions. This method, known as the Socratic method, is still widely used in teaching today because it encourages critical thinking, reflection, and deeper inquiry. What is striking about Socratic irony is its recognition of a deeper truth about human nature. People are often unaware of their own ignorance. In fact, ignorance is often veiled in the guise of certainty. Many people walk through life convinced of their own understanding of the world, but it is only through critical self-reflection that they can begin to see the limitations of their knowledge. Socratic irony reveals this hidden weakness in human nature, the tendency to think we know more than we truly do. It's this false sense of certainty that Socrates sought to dismantle, not through direct confrontation or forceful argument, but through strategic questions that gently pushed individuals to examine the validity of their own beliefs. Schopenhauer's approach to playing dumb and Socrates' use of feigned ignorance share a common goal. Both are about subtly revealing truths through strategic self-presentation, where Schopenhauer advised that one should appear less intelligent to gain respect and influence. Socrates used irony to create a space where others could come to their own realizations, often exposing the contradictions in their own thinking. The power of Socratic irony lies in its ability to make individuals question their assumptions without directly challenging them. This technique allows the philosopher to uncover deeper layers of truth, and in many ways, it is a more effective way of achieving intellectual breakthroughs than simply presenting the right answer. In applying this method to everyday life, we see how questioning can be more effective than asserting. For instance, during work meetings or group discussions, instead of outright dismissing an idea or challenging a colleague's proposal, asking open-ended questions can prompt the group to reconsider their assumptions and reach a more thoughtful conclusion. This approach, much like Socratic irony, can lead to a deeper understanding and even a shift in perspective. By asking the right questions, one can guide others to see the flaws in their reasoning, without ever having to directly point them out. It's a subtle but powerful way to influence the course of a conversation and encourage others to think more critically about the ideas they present. I recall a personal experience where I used this strategy during a debate on a controversial topic in one of my academic settings. The discussion was becoming increasingly polarized, with participants talking past each other rather than engaging with the substance of the arguments. Instead of continuing to argue my point directly, I started asking questions like, "What makes you think that?" or "What evidence supports that claim?" These questions weren't meant to challenge the person's position outright, but rather to encourage them to reflect on the underlying assumptions behind their statements. Slowly but surely, the conversation shifted. People began to reassess their own positions, and the tone of the discussion became more constructive. I didn't need to assert my own opinion or offer a counterargument. The questions I posed encouraged others to reevaluate their own thinking, ultimately leading to a more productive and meaningful exchange. This method of questioning, where the goal is not to dominate the conversation, but to stimulate deeper thought, is a key aspect of the Socratic method. It's a powerful tool for uncovering truths and challenging assumptions, both in philosophical inquiry and in everyday life. The power of asking questions lies in its ability to expose contradictions and provoke critical thinking without making the questioner appear combative or condescending. It is through this process that we can achieve a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Moreover, Socratic irony highlights the importance of intellectual humility. By admitting that we do not know everything and by adopting a stance of curiosity rather than certainty, we open ourselves up to new ideas and perspectives. This humility allows us to engage more authentically with others, creating an environment where learning and growth are possible. It also enables us to recognize the limitations of our own knowledge, which is an essential step toward achieving wisdom. The act of questioning, then, is not only a tool for uncovering truth, but also a practice in humility, for it requires us to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers. This approach is particularly relevant in the context of leadership. Effective leaders are often those who ask the right questions, rather than those who claim to have all the answers. By fostering an environment where questions are encouraged and curiosity is valued, leaders can inspire creativity, innovation, and collaboration. The greatest leaders, like Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi, were not those who imposed their ideas on others, but those who listened, questioned, and guided others toward collective understanding and action. Their ability to question the status quo and ask difficult, uncomfortable questions helped them challenge oppressive systems and inspire social change. Socrates' method is also a valuable tool in conflict resolution. In tense situations, where emotions run high and parties are entrenched in their positions, asking thoughtful, open-ended questions can help defuse tension and bring people together. Questions like, what do you think is the root cause of this issue? Or what would a solution look like that works for everyone? Can shift the focus away from the conflict and toward collaborative problem solving. In this way, Socratic irony can be a powerful tool for fostering understanding and finding common ground, even in the most challenging of circumstances. In the modern world, where we are often surrounded by noise and conflicting opinions, the ability to listen and ask questions has become more important than ever. In political discourse, in academic debates, and in personal relationships, the art of questioning allows us to navigate complex issues without becoming entrenched in our own biases or assumptions. By adopting a stance of intellectual humility and engaging with others through thoughtful questions, we can promote a more thoughtful, reflective, and empathetic approach to understanding the world. In conclusion, Socratic irony and Schopenhauer's philosophy of playing dumb both highlight the importance of intellectual humility, the power of questioning, and the value of listening. By adopting these strategies in our own lives, we can engage more deeply with others, uncover hidden truths, and navigate the complexities of human relationships with greater wisdom, whether through feigned ignorance or strategic questioning. Both Socrates and Schopenhauer understood that the path to deeper knowledge and understanding often requires us to step back, listen, and ask the right questions. In doing so, we can gain greater insight into ourselves and the world around us, and ultimately lead more meaningful and fulfilled lives. Humility has always been one of the most valuable yet often overlooked virtues in the realm of personal and professional success. Arthur Schopenhauer, the famous 19th century German philosopher, understood this deeply. His philosophy, especially regarding the idea of playing dumb, is inherently tied to the power of humility. Schopenhauer wasn't a fan of arrogance, particularly when individuals flaunted their achievements or intelligence as if to dominate the room. According to Schopenhauer, the more one tries to prove oneself, whether through intellectual superiority or material success, the more one alienates others. In his view, true power lies not in showing off but in understanding the subtle dynamics of social interaction. Playing the fool, or in other words, pretending to be less than you are, can sometimes be a masterstroke of strategic humility, subtly steering the situation in your favor without drawing attention to your own capabilities. Schopenhauer's views about humility were not about self-deprecation or pretending to be something you're not. Rather, it was about understanding the nature of human relationships and how the act of intentionally stepping back can lead to greater influence and understanding. He believed that people who constantly push their accomplishments and superiority onto others often breed resentment. They are seen not as admirable, but as arrogant or self-serving. In contrast, those who know when to remain silent, to withhold their full strength, or to downplay their successes, often earn the respect and admiration of others. This is where Schopenhauer's notion of playing dumb becomes a potent philosophical tool. It's not about ignorance. It's about strategic humility, choosing not to flaunt your abilities and achievements for the sake of maintaining harmonious relationships and gaining influence without exerting force. Humility, when embraced fully, can become a powerful tool for personal and professional success. It can lead to deeper connections with others and facilitate influence in ways that overt displays of power or intellect never could. This idea has been demonstrated throughout history by many leaders who understood that true strength is often shown through apparent weakness. Take, for example, figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. Both of these individuals led revolutionary movements, changing the course of history, but they did so not through displays of brute force or intellectual superiority, but through an approach that emphasized humility, patience, and strategic deflection of attention away from themselves. Gandhi, in particular, is often held up as an exemplar of strength through apparent weakness. He was able to galvanize millions of people in India to fight against British colonial rule, but he did so not by asserting his dominance or intellectual superiority. Instead, Gandhi embodied the values of humility and nonviolence, which became the hallmark of his leadership. He downplayed his personal achievements and instead focused on the collective strength of his movement, his ability to remain humble, even in the face of intense opposition and personal hardship. made him a figure of immense respect, not just in India, but across the world. Gandhi's strength was in his ability to appear unassuming and humble while simultaneously leading one of the most significant political movements of the 20th century. Similarly, Nelson Mandela demonstrated how humility can be a source of immense power. After spending 27 years in prison, Mandela emerged not bitter or vengeful, but with a deep understanding of the power dynamics in his country. His willingness to forgive and embrace the very people who had oppressed him won him the admiration of not just his fellow South Africans, but of the entire world. Mandela did not flaunt his moral superiority over others. Instead, he played the role of the humble leader, willing to put aside his personal grievances for the greater good of his people. This strategic humility helped him to unite a divided nation and transition South Africa from the apartheid era into a new era of reconciliation. Mandela, like Gandhi, understood that true leadership often requires putting one's own ego aside for the sake of a greater vision. This kind of humility, seen in figures like Gandhi and Mandela, has a power that is far beyond what overt displays of strength or intellectual dominance can achieve. By downplaying their personal importance, both leaders were able to focus the attention on their movements and causes rather than on themselves. Their humility was not weakness but a form of strength, one that allowed them to influence the course of history in ways that few other leaders could. What makes this form of humility even more powerful is the way it challenges conventional notions of leadership and success. In a world that often values extroversion, self-promotion, and overt displays of achievement, true power lies in the ability to embrace humility and let others take the spotlight. This is a key lesson we can learn from Schopenhauer's philosophy and from the lives of figures like Gandhi and Mandela. Humility doesn't mean hiding your abilities or pretending to be less than you are. It means understanding that the focus doesn't always need to be on you, that your success doesn't need to be flaunted, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to step back and let others shine. One of the best examples of strategic humility in the modern world comes from the tech industry, particularly with figures like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. Both men are often seen as icons of innovation and entrepreneurship, and yet both understand the importance of playing humble in certain contexts. Steve Jobs, for instance, was known for his perfectionism and demanding nature, but he also understood the value of allowing his employees to take credit for their work. At the iconic product launches, Jobs would present the finished product with a flair for drama, but he would often give credit to his team for the breakthroughs they had made. This strategic humility allowed Jobs to maintain the aura of genius while also building a culture of collaboration and innovation at Apple. Elon Musk, similarly, is a figure who has often been criticized for his larger-than-life personality, but he also demonstrates humility in his approach to leadership. Musk rarely takes credit for the successes of his companies. Instead, he often downplays his role in the breakthroughs at Tesla or SpaceX, focusing the attention on his teams and the bigger vision. By doing so, he encourages a sense of ownership and pride within his companies, creating an environment where employees feel empowered to take risks and push the envelope. Like Jobs, Musk understands that true leadership is not about boasting about one's accomplishments, but about creating a culture where others feel valued and respected. In the workplace, this type of humility can be incredibly effective for managing relationships and building trust. For example, consider an employee who works in a high-stakes corporate environment. They may have the skills and experience to impress their superiors, but by remaining humble, listening more than speaking, and letting others take credit for the team's achievements, they can gain the respect of their colleagues while also positioning themselves for future advancement. Instead of pushing themselves forward, they allow others to see their value through their actions rather than their words. Playing the fool in this context isn't about being deceptive or intentionally hiding one's abilities. It's about recognizing the dynamics of power in social settings and knowing when to step back. The key is subtlety. Just as Schopenhauer suggested, playing dumb doesn't mean actually being ignorant. It means strategically deferring to others, letting them feel superior, and subtly guiding the situation toward your desired outcome. This approach fosters goodwill, reduces unnecessary conflict, and allows for deeper, more meaningful relationships to form. This dynamic also plays out in personal relationships, where humility can often diffuse tension and create space for growth. When two people are in a conflict, for instance, the one who steps back, listens, and allows the other person to feel heard and understood is often able to resolve the situation more effectively than the one who insists on being right. Humility in personal relationships isn't about weakness. It's about creating an atmosphere where the other person can feel respected and valued, which, in turn, builds a stronger connection and fosters mutual understanding. In sum, Schopenhauer's philosophy of playing dumb as a form of strategic humility offers valuable insights into the dynamics of power and influence. Figures like Gandhi, Mandela, Jobs, and Musk demonstrate that true leadership and influence are not always about asserting one's superiority, but rather about knowing when to step back, when to allow others to shine, and when to downplay one's own importance for the greater good. Humility, far from being a weakness, is a source of strength. It allows us to build trust, foster collaboration, and create environments where innovation and success can thrive. By embracing humility in our personal and professional lives, we can unlock the power of subtlety and become more effective leaders, collaborators, and individuals. The art of playing dumb, as advocated by Arthur Schopenhauer, is a strategy that, when understood properly, can become one of the most powerful tools for navigating social interactions, advancing in personal and professional life, and achieving success. Schopenhauer's philosophy is often misunderstood as an advocacy for ignorance or for feigning incompetence in all situations. But in reality, what Schopenhauer offers is a nuanced approach to the complexities of human behavior, especially the dynamics of power, pride, and humility. The final takeaway from his philosophy on playing dumb is that it is not about diminishing one's intelligence or avoiding the pursuit of knowledge. Rather, it's about positioning oneself strategically within the complex web of human relationships and understanding when to step forward with confidence and when to step back in humility. The key point Schopenhauer makes is that humans are naturally inclined to seek validation, to display their intellectual prowess, and to constantly prove their worth to the world. This behavior, while natural, often results in resentment, alienation, and a lack of genuine connection with others. By playing dumb, or more accurately, by choosing not to flaunt one's intellect or achievements, one can avoid creating unnecessary friction and instead build deeper, more authentic relationships. It's not about hiding intelligence, it's about timing and subtlety. The true genius, in Schopenhauer's view, is the one who understands the importance of timing and knows when to speak, when to act, and when to remain silent. This strategic humility doesn't just apply to intellectual debates or philosophical discussions. It is a philosophy that can be applied to nearly every facet of life, from professional settings to personal relationships. Consider a manager who has a deep understanding of business strategy but chooses to step back during meetings and let team members present their ideas. The manager may appear less knowledgeable at first, but over time, they will earn the trust and respect of their team, who will feel valued and empowered. In contrast, a manager who constantly asserts their superiority and overshadows others will likely breed resentment, even if they are correct. The lesson here is that sometimes, the best way to lead is by letting others lead, allowing them to feel heard, and then strategically guiding the situation to a favorable outcome. This principle of playing dumb, which Schopenhauer emphasizes, also applies in personal relationships. Think of a situation where two friends are arguing, and one decides to remain silent, allowing the other to voice their opinion and win the argument. In doing so, the quieter person avoids escalating the conflict and gains the respect of the other. Over time, the one who knows when to stay silent in moments of tension is often the one who is seen as the wiser and more emotionally intelligent individual. The lesson here is not about being passive, but about recognizing the power of silence. In many cases, silence is not weakness. It's a form of strength. It's about knowing that the right words, at the right time, can be more effective than constantly trying to assert one's position. Let's think about famous historical and contemporary figures who have mastered the art of strategic humility. One prominent example is Queen Elizabeth II, who ruled the United Kingdom for over 6 decades. Throughout her reign, the Queen maintained an image of humility and reserved authority. She rarely sought the spotlight and often allowed others to speak and act on her behalf. Yet, her quiet demeanor and strategic withdrawal from the public eye allowed her to wield immense power, both as a symbol of continuity and as a trusted figure in global diplomacy. Her humility allowed her to navigate political and social tensions with grace, making her one of the most respected figures in the world. Another example is Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history. Despite his vast wealth and knowledge, Buffett is known for his unpretentious and humble manner. He avoids flaunting his success and instead focuses on practical wisdom, offering advice with the quiet confidence of someone who understands the value of humility. His approach to wealth and success is not about drawing attention to himself, but about making sound decisions and allowing others to succeed. In a world where many public figures strive to be in the limelight, Buffett stands out as a master of understated power. But it's not just political figures or business moguls who understand the value of playing dumb. Think of the tactician Sun Tzu, who is considered one of the greatest military strategists in history. In his seminal work, The Art of War, Sun Tzu speaks at length about the importance of deception, surprise, and indirect strategies. His famous quote, "All warfare is based on deception," encapsulates the idea that playing dumb, holding back one's full strength, can be a powerful strategy. Sun Tzu knew that revealing your full potential too early could give your opponents the upper hand. The key was to remain elusive, to play your cards carefully, and to reveal your full strength only at the right moment. This principle has been applied not just in warfare but in business, politics, and even sports, where the element of surprise can lead to victory. Mahatma Gandhi is another example of a leader who embodied Schopenhauer's philosophy of strategic humility. Gandhi was known for his non-violent resistance against British colonial rule in India. Despite his intelligence and education, he chose to downplay his achievements and lived a life of simplicity and humility. By doing so, he gained the trust and admiration of millions of Indians, who saw him not as an intellectual elitist but as a man who understood their struggles. Gandhi's humility was his strength, and his ability to downplay his personal importance allowed him to lead a revolution that changed the course of history. Even in the world of technology, we see figures who understand the power of playing dumb. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, was notorious for keeping his vision and product ideas a secret until the last possible moment. By doing so, he built an aura of mystery and excitement around Apple's products, making each new product launch a cultural event. Jobs' ability to play dumb by withholding information allowed him to create anticipation and awe around Apple's innovations, making the brand one of the most influential in the world. His understated approach to leadership and his ability to remain humble in the face of immense success is a lesson in how strategic humility can lead to unprecedented success. So, what can we take away from all of this? The final takeaway is that playing dumb, knowing when to withhold your strength, your opinions, and your intellect is not about being less than you are. It's about understanding the power dynamics in social situations and knowing how to position yourself for success. Schopenhauer's advice isn't about avoiding intellectual growth or shirking responsibility. It's about timing. It's about knowing when to speak up and when to remain silent, when to assert yourself and when to let others shine. The smartest people are not those who constantly assert their superiority, but those who understand that humility, when used strategically, can open doors and create opportunities. At the end of the day, Schopenhauer's philosophy invites us to reflect on our own behaviors. How often do we find ourselves eager to prove a point or to showcase our intellectual abilities? How often do we feel the need to be heard, to show that we know more than others? And how often do we fail to realize that silence, humility, and waiting for the right moment can be far more powerful than incessant chatter? The lesson here is simple. Sometimes, silence is golden. Sometimes, the most effective way to gain respect and influence is to step back, listen, and wait for the perfect moment to speak. By doing so, we can navigate social situations with greater finesse, earning the admiration of others without having to fight for it. In the end, playing dumb might just be the smartest move you can make. In closing, I'd like to share a personal reflection on how Schopenhauer's philosophy of playing dumb has impacted my own life. Like many people, I've often found myself in situations where I felt the urge to prove my worth, whether in a meeting, a conversation, or even a debate. I've sometimes been quick to speak, eager to share my thoughts, and demonstrate what I know. But over time, I've come to realize that there's power in holding back, in listening more than speaking, and in letting others take the lead. One experience that stands out happened during a crucial business meeting where I was working with a team on a high-stakes project. The conversation became heated, with everyone pushing their own ideas forward. I felt the need to contribute, to show that I had a solution, but instead, I decided to remain quiet, listening closely to the dynamics at play. I observed who was speaking, how they were speaking, and what the others seemed to respond to. In the end, it was clear that the team was looking for someone to affirm their ideas rather than challenge them. I allowed others to take the lead and offered my insights at the right moment, providing the missing piece that made everything fall into place. By holding back, I was able to guide the conversation without dominating it. The result wasn't just a successful project outcome. It also earned me the respect and trust of my colleagues. This moment was a powerful lesson in humility. It reinforced the idea that sometimes, waiting patiently, listening closely, and letting others take the spotlight can lead to the most satisfying and rewarding outcomes. I realized that by playing dumb, by not rushing to speak or to prove myself, I was able to position myself strategically, ultimately contributing more than I would have if I had pushed my agenda too aggressively. In both personal and professional life, this philosophy has allowed me to connect more deeply with others. I've learned that people value those who listen, who give them space to share their thoughts, and who can step back and let others shine. The true strength lies in knowing when to hold back, when to let others lead, and when to let silence do the talking. By embracing this approach, I've found that I'm able to navigate difficult situations with greater ease, build stronger relationships, and find success in ways I hadn't anticipated. Ultimately, Schopenhauer's lesson about playing dumb isn't just about being strategic in social situations. It's about being self-aware and understanding that sometimes the smartest move is the one that requires patience, humility, and a willingness to listen. This philosophy, when applied thoughtfully, can lead to greater personal growth, success, and fulfillment. And while it might seem counterintuitive at first, the truth is that by playing dumb, we might just end up being the smartest person in the room. Fanket Tuk. And that's a wrap for today's deep dive into the fascinating philosophy of playing dumb. We've explored how Arthur Schopenhauer's ideas can be applied to our modern lives, showing us that sometimes the smartest thing we can do is stay silent, listen carefully, and wait for the right moment to speak. By playing dumb, we aren't diminishing our intelligence. Rather, we're positioning ourselves strategically to navigate the complexities of social dynamics, earn the respect of others, and ultimately rise to success in ways that would have otherwise been impossible. But here's the most important takeaway. This approach isn't about being passive or avoiding challenges. It's about being mindful of your actions, knowing when to act, and understanding that sometimes less is more. The art of playing dumb is about timing. It's about knowing that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. And letting others believe they have the answers allows you to take the lead without ever seeming to try. So, think back to the situations in your life where you felt the need to prove yourself, whether it was at work, in a relationship, or even in casual conversations. How could you have approached those moments differently? Could playing dumb have helped you gain more respect or control the conversation? I challenge you to reflect on your own experiences and think about how this strategy could be applied in your own life. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into more philosophical ideas like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And hey, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with your friends. Let's continue this conversation. What do you think about Schopenhauer's advice? Have you ever used the strategy of playing dumb in your own life? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, sometimes the smartest move isn't about proving you're the smartest in the room. It's about knowing when to hold back, listen, and let others believe they've figured it all out. The power of silence, patience, and strategic humility might just be the key to unlocking your greatest success. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.